How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Positive Mindset Podcast, where we come together to raise our vibration, lift our perspective, and build a positive mindset. My name is Henry, and I'm so thankful to have each and every one of you here today because in this episode, we're going to talk about the power of positive perspective. If you want to use positivity, if you want to use a high perspective to your advantage, this is the episode for you. But before we get started, we're going to take a few moments to slow down, zero in. We're going to take some deep, healing, meditative breaths to help us align on the frequency that we want in our lives. So pick a word. It could be love, joy, happiness, abundance, whatever frequency you want. We're going to take a deep breath in. As you're breathing in, you're going to say this word over and over and over again. Really charge yourself up with that energy. And then as you're holding your breath, visualize yourself doing something in that frequency. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. And out. We're going to take another deep breath. This one's about alignment, about getting ourselves in receiving mode so we can receive the message that we need to hear to get us in that positive perspective. So just imagine that you are surrounded by the most healing, uplifting energy that's meant specifically for you. It could have a certain color, a certain taste, a certain smell, however you imagine it. And when you breathe it in, it's going to charge you up. It's going to break down the negativity, the blocks, the weight, everything that's just been holding you back. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take another deep breath in. And out. So this concept, and to really take the power of this, I've always believed that perspective will set you free. Because the further perspective you have, or the higher perspective you have, the further you are from self, and the more you become the observer. So there's a ton of power in this because the observer is your true state. You are something that's observing an experience. That's what this is. So when you want to shift, when you want to be able to apply pressure to your life, the filter to your life, because that's what we're doing, is we're experiencing this life through a filter. And when you want to change something, you have to adjust the filter. Your frequency is what you frequently see. And so what that means is what you're seeing in the world is a representation of the frequency within you. The world is not as it is. The world is as you are. Meaning as you experience the world is a reflection of you. Two people can go see the same movie, but take away different experiences. In fact, their experience can be influenced by what happened to them before they went to the movie. So that's why the world is not as it is as you are. So if you want to be able to shift things, you have to raise your perspective. When somebody works on something for a long time, say they are a plumber, and they've been working on houses for their whole life. They've changed everything from sinks, from toilets. They've done it all. When you don't know what you're doing and you need to make a change, something, you got a leaky pipe or something like that, and you call the expert in. They come in, they've seen this all their life. What something would take you maybe a whole day to discover and then another day to fix, they might do in just a minute because they've seen it so many times. Their perspective on it is so high because they've experienced it in so many ways. So time can give perspective. You can also learn from other people to expedite time. So if you want to be able to shift something, your understanding of the thing creates the ability of, increases your ability to shift it. And I hope it makes this sense because sometimes when an idea is new, when an understanding is new, it's hard for me to explain. And they're usually episodes that I don't want to make because I know I can't speak it clearly yet. But when you hear somebody working through something, sometimes it allows you to understand it from a different angle versus me just explaining what it is. I'm working through it with you. So if there's something in your life that you want to shift, something that you're looking at, if you don't know how to do it, it's going to take you a while of studying it. If you're an expert at it, then you can shift it faster and that becomes your reality. But once you learn how to shift, you can do it faster. Think of it like a wrench. So if you have a bolt and the bolt represents the thing that you want to shift, and you have a very small wrench, it's not very long, but the bolt is hard to move. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have to apply a lot of pressure to try to get it to shift. And maybe you can, maybe you can't because of how tight it is. But if you take that same bolt and have a longer wrench, say it's 2 feet long, it's considerably longer, the amount of pressure you have to apply is way smaller because it builds up the longer the shaft. Just like the further the perspective, the more it's amplified from looking at it. This is why positive perspective is so important. Positive doesn't mean happy perspective. It's just a positive frequency, meaning it's up, it's towards source, towards love. So if you can harness a positive perspective, you can apply a ton of torque to whatever it is that you want to shift. And this is why this is the number one thing if you want to change anything in your life. It's your perspective. That's why your perspective will always set you free. To understand perspective, you have to reflect. Reflection can come from self, meaning you can just have a day. At the end of the day, reflect on everything. Try to see it from all different angles. See an interaction you had with somebody from your angle. Then see it from theirs. Then see it from somebody that may have witnessed it. Increase your perspective, your understanding of how the day was. As you continue to do that, your understanding of self will grow. The more that you understand self, the more perspective you have, the easier it is to make these adjustments. So for the past 4 years, I've been working on a positive mindset. I created the podcast, not sure the direction I was going to go with it. I just knew I was coaching myself. But then as that continued, I really started chasing down what a positive mind is. Why did I think positively naturally a lot of times? Why don't some people? And understanding what made that happen. So my perspective on a frequency, the positive frequency, grew over 4 years. So I have an increased perspective on it. So when working with somebody, if they haven't been doing it, I'm able to make an adjustment quickly because I've seen it so many times versus they would not. But then I realized that if you can raise your perspective in one thing, you can raise your perspective in anything. Anything in your life, you can increase your perspective on it. So if you get good at increasing your perspective, you can apply that skill to anything in the world. And it's just reflection. Because the world is not as it is as you are. So the more time you spend reflecting, not analyzing, not judging, not having opinions or anything on it, but truly just trying to observe and understand. Observe and understand why you did something. Observe and understand why someone else did. And increase your understanding of self because it's all happening for you. So when you take that approach, you're understanding you even more. You'll get better at it. Your reflection skills will increase the more you do it. Then you can start looking at specific things in your life. You want to increase your money energy, then reflect on your thoughts and actions and interactions with money. If you want to increase your health habit, then reflect on those. It's the same thing for any frequency that you want to adjust. Self-reflection increases perspective. You increase your perspective, you increase your power to change the filter of that one. The easiest way to understand the filter is you think of a radio station. So if there's positive frequency radio, it's a specific energy of radio that you can listen to. And there's frequencies, there's 88.1, 93.2, 97.7, and up and up and up to 101.4. Like the frequencies go higher and higher and higher. The dial is the filter because whatever station you're dialed into is what you'll receive. So if you're dialed into the lower frequency, that's what you're going to receive. The higher frequencies still exist at the same time. You're just dialed into the one. Well, if you don't have the ability to reflect, if you haven't increased that skill set within you, if you don't know how to create perspective on positivity, like we're listening to positive radio right here, then changing that dial is going to be difficult because it's tough. But if you learn how to reflect and then you start reflecting on your life where you're positive and then looking at it from all different ways so you have a true understanding of why that frequency existed there, you increase your perspective. And then it becomes easier to adjust your dial. And you can apply that for every different type of frequency radio station. This is why perspective is so empowering. This is why positive perspective is so important, because it allows you to be your highest self and create the experience you desire. This is how we grow. This is how we expand into positive light. Everything's expanding, but you have to adjust these filters to dial into the one. What you focus on, you'll expand in the world. This is where your purpose is. This is where all life is. It's in the constant expansion. So when you do this, give it purpose, give it meaning, rise up and become the rising tide that lifts all ships. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I haven't done one like that in a while where it was an unfinished idea, but this is something that was recent for me, and sometimes it's just fun to challenge yourself to speak through it. Hopefully it made sense, but it's going to be a subject I'm going to continue to expand on. If you'd like me to talk more about it, of course, you can leave a comment below and I'll continue it, because it's something that I'm working on and applying, and sometimes it's fun to share those. But if you want to make sure you don't miss a single episode, make sure you subscribe to my email list. There's a link down below. It will keep you up to date with every single episode. And if you want to follow me on social media, there's my Instagram and TikTok down below. I appreciate all the follows there. Well, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.